everyone, I'm Kareena Utavani, Creative Manager at Hex. And today's discussion features Sales Director Ravi Shukla on how organizations navigate the build versus buy discussions.
So thank you, Kareena. Thank you for having me.
So, Ravi, tell us more about yourself.
It's really great to be here because I think being in sales and leading the sales team, I realized that I have come to a point wherein I do understand, or my entire focus is to really understand what my customer wants. Because in our persona, what we are most concerned about is really understanding why a customer need a product, what they are planning to do with it, how they are planning to implement it. These questions basically form up a story for us that the customer have in mind, what they are really thinking about their business, where they think that they'll be able to generate enough amount of profit and scale their business to a level wherein they are literally seeing us as their partner. So with that, I would say that I'm leading the global sales team at Hex Wireless. We are a team of young, hungry, ready to learn people who's always there to understand like what the customer wants, and we have a solution that we provide that flexibility that whatever our customer wants, we are so flexible enough that we can accommodate it. So that's a bit about me.
Okay, so Ravi, let's start it simple. When customers approach you, at what stage do they ask about build versus buy question?
So, Kareena, that's a good question. According to me, this point or this discussion of build versus buy really opens up when, or basically depends on a different on level of a company. Why I'm saying that? Suppose if you're a startup, you already know that you need to learn a lot about the market. That profitability is one of the major factors that you need to consider. Considering that, an OPEX like model where you don't need to invest a large capital right away, you'll look for an option that provides you that you get up and running as soon as possible. Consider that if in that scenario you're trying to build a system, first and foremost you'll have to understand the market, document all the requirements. In that, firstly you need to really know what your customers want, because at the starting you won't have that many customers to really understand every requirement and make a future proof platform. Now your engineer's salary will be there as well, so that revolves around a very hefty cost that you need to pay upfront. Whereas if you suppose it's in a span of 6 months or a year, you've become a well established player, well established aggregator. Now you have the cost and you are focused more on profitability plus introducing something new for your customer, in the sense that by the time you would have received some requirements from your customer around WhatsApp, RCS, or probably some feature requirement, because uptime is very important. So consider that you want a super redundant system, you want some advanced routing to be included in your platform. In that sense, having a consistent ARR makes sense, and now you can really decide whether you should build a platform or you should buy a platform.
That's really interesting, and it highlights why build versus buy isn't just a tech question, but it's about how customers frame the decision that it's to be thought earlier. And also, you have said before that build versus buy is often asked too late. So, according to you, what's already gone wrong by then?
Yeah, even I feel that is often asked too late, and I've seen that in my because I'm in sales, so I'm constantly in touch with clients, trying to understand what their requirements are. And like I said earlier, that this question really build or buy really arises when a company becomes a well-established aggregator or well-established MNO, MVNO, whatever we call it. Uh, then they have the capex to really invest on both the sides. Now let's consider a scenario that what really happens is that decision, like this decision of build versus buy, is made at the later stage. But when you are in a growth stage or growing stage, you are getting those hints. Couple of hints I can recall is that your sales team is telling you that a customer reached out to me and they want a specific feature, maybe around WhatsApp or RCS. They are seeing that it is booming in the market and they want to capitalize on that part. A customer reached out for scalability part, that they have some campaign they want to roll out right away, and they want a higher volume of messages. Similarly, your technical or your NOC team will reach out to you that failover and redundancy is something very important to them, and this current system is not able to provide that. They can also say that, we are facing a lot of downtime. Can we fix this in some manner? And if we don't consider these hints in the early stages, it really becomes a burden in the later stage when we really have to make that decision of build versus buy. Because at that time, that there's a lot to work on. You need to really develop a solution. You need to develop a WhatsApp solution. You need to really develop a AskGet solution. You need to think about high availability architecture. With these points, that your clients are already sitting open. They want the solution right away, and the complexity of introducing a solution right away is not possible, even if you go with buy or even if you go with build.
Exactly. It shows how early choices shape everything that follows further. Everyone talks about cost in build versus buy. So what tends to get overlooked according to you?
That's a nice point, because it is one of the major reasons why someone would think about building or buying a solution. Because consider this simple scenario. In both the cases, a couple of costs that literally comes in mind whenever you are thinking about either building or buying is the license cost, is the infrastructure cost, is the server costs wherein you'll be hosting your solution. But these are the pre-development costs that we think about. What being overlooked is the post-development cost. Consider this, that you developed a platform or you bought a platform. What is that operational cost? Did you consider that? That annual maintenance cost, that incident management cost, that support cost, you should have considered that. Along with that, there's one cost that have recently came into the picture is the compliance cost. What really happens is that, suppose India just launched DLT compliance, right? US have 10 DLC. Even Australia is now mandating every aggregator or every SMS, like anyone who is working in that industry, that they need to comply to their rules and regulation related to sender ID approval, the template approval, and they need to get that done before July of 2026. Then this again brings a lot of costs related to, you need to make some changes and to become compliant to these rules and regulations, right? Then comes, you can think about scalability costs, right? You developed a system which is scalable to a certain level, but post that, what if a customer wants a very high TPS system? What if a customer wants a specific set of features? Like, as I said earlier, that WhatsApp and RCS is booming right now. Everybody wants that, right? They want to introduce that to their clients so that they can use that platform to basically send out messages, right? That is again a cost that brings in the picture. And a couple of new features as well, like high availability architecture is one point that majority of my team is bringing to me, that their clients are asking for that. They are saying that we want the best uptime as much as possible. So these are some pre-development and post-development costs which should be looked whenever we are planning to do either build or buy. Post-developments are obviously, as I said, that are get overlooked, but both should be considered. And then only you will be able to really capture that profitability, that margin that you're aiming for, decide on the part whether business is getting profitable or not.
Okay, so you talked about all the costs that are overlooked in this. Are there any non-financial costs involved in this?
So, Kareena, that's again a good question, because even I feel non-financial costs play a major role, and if not taken care, they can become a very big pain point for the company. So, what really happens is that, let's consider that whether you are building or buying, obviously there is a human resource that is going to use it, a team that is going to operate it, a team that is going to sell it, a team that is going to monitor it. In every scenario, suppose you're going for building a platform, what would happen is that you built a platform, there is an engineering team who worked on it, who decided a path that this is what the application's flow would be. But even after that, there's a lot of effort. Like, your operations team need to manage that constantly. A lot of changes would be required every time. Your engineering team will be stuck on the point that they are every time they are running a new sprint. RCS and WhatsApp obviously play a major role in the messaging business, right? So if that is not developed, your team will have to develop that as well along with the SMS side. So it causes a lot of human stress. Whereas on the buy side, biggest problem is that you're dependent on a different team who's managing the work for you, who is supporting you. So always dependency creates again a human stress, because if something is not working, you're trying to connect with them. If they are not responding, that again that is a hassle. That is a headache for your team to really understand or really trying to connect and resolve that issue as soon as possible. So in that manner, what really comes is that non-financial costs. Sometimes they are overlooked, but I believe they play a major role, because at the end of the day, product adoption for the team is the key.
Exactly. That brings up another important angle to that point. So, basically, about business and its standpoint. Coming up next, how does urgency or time to market change the build versus buy question?
So it drastically changes that equation. Why I'm saying that? So basically, urgency removes theory. Some practicality is removed. How I'm saying that is, I'll give you a scenario. I have a client right now. They are thinking that they are just starting out. They have good customer base, but they are just starting out on the SMS side of the business. What they thought that they'll officially launch in March, but they have to train their support team on the new platform, so that the team knows everything about the platform. They know how they'll be able to support the end customer. And in that, what really happens is that at that time you won't even look at like building a platform. Obviously, the first choice is that finding a stable, very scalable, and very good support provider vendor who takes care of everything for you. So in that case, it's obviously like whenever there is an urgency or there is a fixed time to market, you know that you can't go around every time and look for some solutions, or probably think about building a solution. Instead, I believe the right choice is buying a solution right away.
Exactly. That's such a real point. Urgency has a way of cutting through assumptions and forcing clarity. It suddenly becomes less about what's possible and more about what's practical right now. Well, coming on to next. When timelines are tight, teams often convince themselves of this, like we'll buy now or build later. Well, why does that plan rarely work in reality?
So yeah, even I feel that this question that will buy now and build later is something very important, in the sense that what happens that when you buy a platform, what your teams, like, start using it, your teams adopt it, your customers adopt it, you set the customer flows according to it, APIs get integrated into it, you're adopted to see billing reporting according to that, even the compliances are tied to it. So it becomes like, after 6 months of time, it's just not a temporary platform, it becomes an infrastructure for you, because your teams have been constantly using it, they are heavily relying on it. So asking this question that will buy now and build later becomes irrelevant, because later on when your teams have adopted to it, it's a big task to move to a new platform or probably build a new platform.
That's so true. It always starts with just for now, and before you know it, the whole business is running on it.
There is one of the client who reached out to me, and they've been using a platform for a while now, and now they are thinking that they want to build a platform. But I would say wrong in that is that we got in conversation, their knock team, their billing team, all were open to see the platform, but we can literally feel there was some resistance on every level. Why is that? Because they are stuck, they are basically not stuck, or basically they are used to a specific set of processes. They are used to that process for a very long time, and for them to move to a new process, seeing a new platform and thinking that we'll build it according to our need is a very big task.
Well, yes, that's a really great reality check for a pretty common mindset. So, coming on to next, which decision keeps leaders awake longer? Building or trusting someone else's product?
I think both the sides are riskier. So what happens is that obviously in buying there is a dependency. So you are literally seeing the risk that you are dependent on someone else, a vendor, to provide all the services and making sure that those services are stable. Whereas on the building side, internal problems surface late. During the peak traffic, you get to know that TPS is insufficient. Uh, the volumes are insufficient for the client. Customers get to know those problems first before the team does. So that's the reason why I say that in messaging world, which is very competitive, there's very less margin. Then that I feel failures aren't forgiving. You get very less time to retain a customer, and customers are always exploring that if one platform is not working for them, they'll quickly switch to another. That's why I feel that biggest problem or biggest fear of a leader is not that they need a stable platform, but I think they need like whether they go for buy or build. Major question is that who will take the responsibility or accountability of when things are not working according to what they were supposed to work.
Yes, exactly. That makes so much sense from the viewpoint of a business. So, coming on to next, in your experience, does build versus buy end up about being a cultural issue more than a tech issue?
Yeah, Kareena, and coming from sales, emotions are the one thing that I know play a major part in every task that we do in our career. So and anyways, humans are very emotional as well. So you can understand in both the scenarios. Like if we talk about build, we know that it is an emotional decision for an engineering team to really build a solution that they spent months on. They decided what they want to build. They decided every sprint around that how that solution would look like. And the other side, leadership took the decision of building that platform. They really decided that, after evaluating all the possible outcomes, we think that building a platform is something that we should go ahead with. So making that change on the build side and going back to buy is again really difficult. And same can be for the buy side as well. Suppose we bought a platform, the team got so adapted to it that they are doing those tasks in a very specific manner. Just to take an example, that I have one client who recently reached out to me. So that was a similar scenario. He told me that they were using a very big or large platform for a long period of time. Now, to consider the profitability and the margin, they thought let's look for a new platform which obviously provides all everything that they are doing right now and plus the scalability. So with that, they reached out to me and but I could see that their team is constantly pushing that we don't want to go ahead with a new solution. The only reason was that they were so adopted and they were so emotionally tagged to that platform that they thought learning curve would be a lot, would be huge. They'll have to invest a lot of time in really understanding the new platform. So that's the reason I feel emotions or culture issue is one thing that really comes in mind or in front of this question all the time, that whether we should build or whether we should buy.
Well, yes, it really puts the focus more on strategy and impact, not just the numbers. It raises another interesting point. If build versus buy is the wrong question, what teams should be asking instead?
I feel instead they should be focusing on core uh, core of why they really want to build and why they really want to buy. What I really mean by that is that they should always think about what is that unique thing they are offering to their customers. Because let's take a simple scenario in CPaaS. If you are buying or building a platform, expected things are that your platform has good TPS handling, you provide good uptime, you have a good failover mechanism. But differentiation could be an intelligent routing system, a high availability architecture to provide that like 99% of uptime, something like a failover mechanism that is so dependable in a way that every your messages are getting delivered anyhow, in the sense that probably you have a gateway one, which failed. Then there is another gateway, then there is another gateway, then there is another gateway, and at the end you have a master failover gateway as well. So that creates that entire differentiation for a customer to really see that whatever happens, their message will get delivered every time. Along with that, it's all about ownership as well. Like if something goes wrong at suppose 2 a.m., who'll take care of it? I know that in building you have the complete control, you have the complete ownership, that you will be controlling everything and you will have to manage everything. But in the buying, you are dependent on someone. You know that that team should be strong enough, should be stable enough in a manner that they are managing those issues whenever it's happening, be it 2 a.m., 3 a.m., or probably in the morning as well. Then something I believe, because in investment is something that that you make for like considering future, like future in mind. That if something you're building right now, you're not thinking that probably I'll use it for a year and I'll leave it. You want that to be future ready, in the sense that it should bring in those new features, it should continuously upgrade itself, it should continuously provide you updates if something is not working. Along with that, I think, as I said earlier, that in the first question itself, the compliance now plays a very major part. So that platform should be able to comply to every compliance that is there in the world, in the sense that suppose you're specifically focusing on LATAM region, then you know that probably in Brazil there are some compliance. There are compliance related to the servers should be hosted in their region itself. So those things should like obviously matters to you, but the vendor should also consider that. Obviously, when you're building it, you'll definitely think about it, but the vendor should also think about it in the manner that if you're buying it, they should take care of these important rules and regulations. So I think a couple of these pointers play a major role whenever you are like, instead of thinking about whether you should buy or build, but these points should be taken into consideration.
Okay, so Ravi, considering your experience in this niche, do you think there's ever a universally right answer for build versus buy, or is it always about the context?
So there's no universally right answer. It's just that only context is the king. On the basis of context, you would be able to decide whether you should go for buy or build. Uh, let's take a simple scenario. A couple of things that you can consider in this context wise is really understand what's the stage of the business, where you are. If you're a startup, you already know that capital is one thing that you don't want to spend right away. You are mainly looking for profitability, a set of customer, and a set of margins on the basis of which you can build a corpus that can help your business to grow. So obviously in that, you to spend minimally and get the most amount of profit, you would be looking for buying a solution. On the other side, if you are a well established player, what you would think is that obviously something that is stable, you'll keep that part, but to add new feature and to grow and for better profitability, you will look to experiment and build something on it. Then on in that case, you will look for a building a solution. Now coming to, like, if we are talking about profitability that can come from clients only, right? So that also depends on that factor. Like if you have a set of clients who are enterprises, banks, some regulated companies, so obviously you would look for a platform that is already compliant, basically follows all the regulations, knows everything about the market, have a very good idea about the entire market, and follows those practices, so that it will give you less headache in managing these clients and being able to scale your system as and when possible. So again, buying is a better option. And if you are a startup, or probably you don't have much clients, you are still building your business, in that case obviously building is one thing that you can experiment with, because you know the use cases, probably a couple of things you can build and cater the current set of customers that you have, because you know that with least number of customers, there is a possibility that you can explore and expand. So it's obvious that if you have a higher risk appetite, building is a better option, because you have the team, you have the resources to really support that. On the other side, if you have a low risk appetite, I think buying is a better option. Again, when we are talking about resources, it's again a big point in the manner that if you're a well established player, you can just use your resources, you can hire those engineering team, you can hire those support team and build something. Whereas if you don't have a team, obviously the option is buying. If you want full control, everything you should be able to monitor, you should be able to support, then you should go for build. But you think that you don't have the capability to afford full control right now, in that case you can go for buying a solution. So as I said that context is one thing that always plays a big role, and yeah, context is the king.
Okay, so Ravi, to sum this up session better, we are moving forward with a quick rapid fire round. One sign you should stop buying immediately.
I think when work around become part of the daily operations.
One sign you're building too early.
I think when you're still learning about the market, you don't have entire requirement or complete requirement from your customer's end.
Okay. Who feels the pain first when this decision goes wrong? Tech, business, or customers?
Always customer.
Build or buy? Which one feels safer but isn't always?
I think it's building. In early stages, it feels that building is a good option, but obviously, as I said, that post development, you get a lot of costs and a lot of problems that occurs, and you see them in the later stage.
Alright, so if someone listening is already feeling the pain, what's the very first next step they should take?
I think they should watch this podcast, see all the answers that I gave. But jokes apart, I think majorly what they need to do is to really stop and get a clarity from where the pain is coming from. What is that is really stopping them, that made that build or buy not relevant or not stable for them? Is it the scalability? Is it the reliability on a different team? Is it the accountability that no one took? Is it the operations ownership that no one took? That they can think about, or they should separate what's core from what's just good to have feature. Not just focus on let's add good to have feature and ruin what your core of the business is, in the manner that like SMS services are your core. The delivery of that is your core. Instead of having good to have features just to attract clients, you also think about who would own the problem. So this is mainly about like not having a person who could fix it, but a person or a team who would own the problem, who would be accountable for it. Whenever the situation is not right, there is a team who knows or follows a specific set of steps, or we can say escalation metrics, according to which a problem could be resolved. So I think on the basis of these three questions or pointers, what they can really get to is really deciding whether to fix it or to replace the platform like completely. Because I believe when things hurt, we should not rush to fix them, but firstly wait, understand what the problem is, and then decide what we really need to do.
Thank you so much, Ravi, for sharing your valuable insights today. It's been fascinating to hear how organizations navigate the build versus buy dilemma, and your practical lessons will surely help the leaders make smarter and timely decisions.
So, Kareena, thank you for having me. I hope so that I was able to provide information from my experience, obviously, that when one should build a platform, when one should buy a platform. I think it is a very important question, that because it's a very marginal business, it's a very competitive business as well. Making that right decision is very important, and based on all the points that we discussed, I think one should be able to make up their mind whether they should go for build or buy.
To everyone joining us, I hope you found this session as enlightening as I did. Let's take this approach further and rethink on the critical choices that we make.